everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a couple of bracelets that I featured from the July 2021 bargain bead box. I believe Summer Nights it was. I'm going to do two of the bracelets. I would do all three, but right now I'm missing some of the crystal beads that I need. I did order more. I'm just waiting for them to come in. I will be doing a video for that one, so I'll have to do that one separately. I just wanted to mention before we get into this video, a lot of you had mentioned that you wanted to see this particular donut pendant done. So that's this one here. So the problem that I'm having right now is actually getting another donut pendant. I have been looking everywhere for donut pendants. I did find some, I ordered them, got them here. They weren't exactly the same size. The holes were a lot smaller, a little bit uneven. Unfortunately, the ones that I did order are not going to be the same as this particular one. This one here, I'm having a hard time finding this one. I am still on the hunt for a donut pendant where I can do the same weaving pattern as I did with this one here. If any of you guys know where I can get donut pendants like this, please let me know, because I'm having a tough time up here in Canada. It's really tough unless you can go into the store, and I've been into a couple of bead stores and I just haven't been able to find the donut pendant I'm looking for. If you guys know where I can get one similar to this one here, almost identical, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to know where I can get more of these. Yeah, so I can do this. So just be patient with me. As soon as I find the proper donut stone, I will definitely get that done for you. So please be patient. All right, so without further ado, we are going to get into this video. So let's get started. This is the bracelet that we're going to do. This one was featured in July 2021's bargain bead box, the Summer Nights collection. So we're going to do this one first. Before we begin though, I just want to say, after my intro was done, guess what I found? Yeah, a donut stone. So I'm going to do that for you guys, not in this video, but an upcoming video, now that I have found a donut pendant that's pretty close, like the one that I showed you in my intro, okay? So we'll do that in an upcoming video here in the next couple of weeks. I will get that done for you because I know some of you wanted to see that. So yay, woohoo! If you're using the July 2021 bicones, because I didn't have enough bicones. I have a lot of bicones, but I just don't have the amount that I need to do this particular bracelet. So I am going to use these bicones for the middle part, and then these are 4mm bicones. So I'm going to use that for the middle part, and these ones on the outer row here. And then these ones, this is a round 4mm glass bead. It's kind of a green, very yellowish green color. I think I got these from the dollar bead box, but they are the same size as the bicones. They are also 4mm. So I'm going to use those in place of the topaz colored bicones. So you get the idea of what we're going to be doing. If you're using the bicones from the bead box, and by all means do that. Just follow along as if these are the blue and these are the topaz, okay? These are size 8 seed beads. These are the 11 Miyukis that we're going to use, okay? I also have these toggle clasps. I always have like lots of toggle clasps in my stash. I'm going to use some of the spacer beads. Now I have a lot of these spacer beads. These ones here are also from the bargain bead box, but I had those in my stash already. And for Fireline, I'm going to use 8-pound Fireline today in the color black. You can use 6-pound if you want to. I just prefer using 8-pound, and you can use a color crystal also if you want to. I just have the black handy, and I'm going to use a black. All right, I'm going to clear this all off, and we are going to get started with this bracelet. I forgot to tell you that you're going to need a needle. Of course, that probably goes without saying, but either a 10 or 11. This is a 10, I believe. And I have approximately 3 to 4 feet of thread on my needle. Okay, we are going to start with the Pondo stitch. So this is all the beads that I'm going to need at the moment in front of me. I'm going to pull you in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. So for your first color, put on 4 of them. So I'm going to say the blue bicones because these are kind of blue. So we'll say blue bicones. I'm going to bring that all the way to the end and just tie it off right here. I'm not even going to bother putting a stop bead. There's no point. So just tie it off like that. I'm going to put 2 knots in there. And then I'm going to cut them off. Now my bead zapper has decided to retire. So I am going to use my cutters for now until I get a new bead zapper. Because I really like the bead zapper. That thing works great. But until I get it, I am stuck doing that. Okay, I'm going to take my needle and just go through the next one. And just pull that knot so it's out of the way. Okay. And we're ready to begin. So take your 8/0 seed bead and go through the next bicone. And then take next 8/0 and go through the next bicone and go around all the way. Till you get to the first bicone, to the last bicone. Make sure your beads are straight. And then go through the next 8/0 seed bead. And you've done your first little square. Pull it tight. Make sure that everything's nice and tight. Now add 4 more. Okay, I've got 4 of those bicones on now. You see my thread is coming out of this hole, like this side of that seed bead. I'm going to go through, back through the other side of that seed bead. And pull that through. Okay, I'm going to turn it over because I'm right-handed. So I'm coming out of this side. I'm going to go through that next bicone. Okay, now add an 8/0 seed bead, go through the next bicone. Add another 8/0 seed bead, go through the next bicone. Another 8/0 seed bead, go through the next bicone. Now I'm going to go through the next seed bead, the next 8/0 seed bead. I want to make my way around to this seed bead here because you want to continue. So I'm going to go all the way around through that bicone, through that seed bead, bicone, and then we are finally at the next seed bead. So I'm going to go through that seed bead and we're ready to add the next sequence. So there's 2 done. Okay, I'll do this again for you. So add 4 more of your bicones. So 4 more. And as you can see, I've come out this side of that 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to go back around to the opposite side and come through like that. Okay, now we have 4 on there. I'm going to turn it over. And I'm coming out this side. I'm going to go through that next bicone. Add the 8-0. Go through the next bicone. Add the 8-0 seed bead. Go through the next bicone. And one more 8-0 seed bead and go through the next bicone. Okay, and then pull it tight because you want that to be nice, tight and in place. Now I'm going to go all the way around and get back to the top of this square. So go through all those beads, bicone, 8-0 seed bead, make your way back. Okay, now I'm back at the top again and I'm going to go through that next seed bead. Now I want to add my next square. So keep doing that until you have the amount of bicones that you want. This bracelet here is 7 3/4 inches. As you can see, this bracelet fits me almost like a cuff. Like, it does have a little bit of wiggle room, but it fits more like a cuff for medium wrist. So my wrist is 6 3/4. Okay, so I made my bracelet 1 inch larger than what my wrist is. Say if you have an 8-inch wrist, you're going to want to make a 9-inch bracelet. The findings on this bracelet measure 1 7/8. You're going to want this part here to be 7 1/8 of an inch, okay? Does that make any sense? If you are not sure about that, I will leave the measurements down in the description box so you can pause this video, you can go have a look, measure your wrist, and just go by the legend that I put down in my description box. I'll try to make it easy for you, okay? So do the amount that you need and I will meet you back here when I've got mine done. Okay, so I've done 16 squares. And even like that's pretty. We're gonna keep going. So 16 squares and we're gonna go on to the next row. So now I'm coming out of this 8-0. On this side, I'm going to go through the next bicone and the next 8-0. We're going to bring in these small little green beads. One 8-0, one 4mm round, or your other 4mm bicone, and one 8-0. We're going to skip this bicone, and we're going to go into the next 8-0, like that. Okay, so you do it again. So one 8-0, one 4mm round, or your bicone, and one 8-0, and you bypass the 2 bicones, and you go into the next 8-0. And one more time. One 8-0, your bead, the other 8-0, skip these 2 bicones and into the next 8-0 seed bead. That actually looks really pretty. Continue that and end with your last 8-0 right here on this side. And I'll meet you back here when you get to this point. Okay, we are at the end of that first half a row. Now, all we're going to do is go through this bicone, this 8-0 seed bead, this bicone on the other side, this 8-0 seed bead, Okay, and then we're going to continue with this sequence here. Your 8/0 seed bead, your 4mm round bead, or your 4mm bicone, and your other 8/0 seed bead between these areas here. Okay, and then just keep going till you get to the other end right here, and I'll be back and we'll continue. Okay, we are at the end of that now. Look at this. This looks really pretty, just like that. So you could leave it if you wanted, just like that. But we're going to keep going. So now I'm at the end. We're coming out of this 8/0. We're going to go all the way around. And this is where we are sitting now, coming out of that bead. Now, for the next step, I forgot to put in my list the 50 no's. So as I look at this, because of the tone of blue that this is, this blue one here is not going to work. And this one is the transparent rainbow sapphire. This one is not going to work with this, so I'm going to have to use my 50 no Miyuki silver beads to go with this. So let's do that. I'm going to get some out here. Now I've got some 50 no's ready to go. Now I'm going to grab one 50 no, one bicone, and one 50 no. We are going to miss these 3 8/0 seed beads here. We're going to go through the next green bead. Look at that. Okay, 50 no, bicone 50 no, and just keep bypassing those 3 8/0 seed beads and go through the next bead. This is actually turning out to be really pretty. So continue with that sequence down to the end, which will be here of your first row, okay, of this particular row, and I will meet you back here. Here I am back to this side again. This is what it looks like with this next step done. We're going to go through the 2 8/0s. I'm going to go through that bicone and that 8/0 seed bead. What I want to do now that I'm at this side here, because this is going to be my last row in here, I'm going to add my clasp here. So I'm going to add those 2 spacer beads to my thread or to my needle. I'm going to go through and add my one end of my toggle clasp. And I am going to go back through those 2 spacer beads, pull everything together, pull it down, and then I'm going to go in the opposite side on this seed bead here, this 8/0 seed bead. My thread was coming out of this side, so I went up through the 2 beads, through the clasp, and then back down through the 2 beads. So I want to come back through the opposite side, so this side, okay, of that 8/0 seed bead. Pull it tight. And then I just go back up through here again and just reinforce it, probably 3-4 times at least 3 times for sure. I mean, this is 8-pound fire line. It's going to hold really well. Back through there again, the opposite side, because you want it to sit pretty much even. 3 times the charm. And then I'm going to go through this one more time, this side. And I am done adding that side. Okay, I'm going to go through this bicone and the 2 seed beads, the 2 8/0 seed beads. and then go through this green round bead. I'm going to go through this 15-0, the first 15-0, and the bicone. So for this last row, we're going to put on a 8-0 seed bead, an 11-0 Miyuki, and a 8-0 seed bead. We're going to miss the 15-0 seed bead, the 4mm bead, and the 15-0 seed bead, and we're going to go in to the next bicone. So it sits like that. Okay, so we'll do that again. The 8-0, the 11-0 Miyuki, 8-0, completely bypass the 15-0, the 4mm bead, and your 15-0, and go directly into the next bicone. Do that all the way down this side until you get to this last bicone. I will meet you back here and we will continue. Okay, we are done our first row across here, and I really like the way this turned out, you know, because it looks like it's hugging and waving through these beads. It looks so pretty. I really like that. Now we are going to make our way to this seed bead here. So go through your 15-0, your green bead, or whichever one you decided to use, your two 8-0s, go through there, the bicone, and then your last 8-0 seed bead. We're going to add 2 spacer beads, the other part of the toggle clasp. We're going to go back down the 2 spacer beads, hold everything in place, and because we came out this side of that 8-0 seed bead, we're going to go back in the opposite side. Now we're going to go back up those 2 beads. And again, it's totally up to you how many times you want to reinforce this. So now I'm going to take my thread, my needle, and I'm going to go through the bicone and the 2 8-0s. Through that green bead, through the first 15-0 and the 1 bicone. Bypass that next 15-0, don't go through it. And now you add an 8-0, 11-0 Miyuki, and an 8-0. Bypass the 15-0, the green bead, and the 15-0, and go through the next bicone. So continue that all the way to the other end, and you can tie off anywhere in here you want to, and I will meet you back here in a few minutes. I found that I wanted to lengthen it up a little bit. I decided to add a little bit to it, so I'm going to show you what I did to make it just a little bit looser so that it moves up and down my wrist a bit more. Okay, so this applies to, you know, if for some reason you make a mistake and you've made it too small and you want it to be a little bit bigger, you can always add things to the toggle clasp in the back. So this is what I did. So even though your toggle clasp is done, you can add, you know, some of the beads just to make a little loop. So what I did for this one here is I made a little loop of those beads that I was using, so the green and the bicones. Okay, through here. So I added 5 of the green, 4 bicones, and then I made a little sequence of beads in here just to bring a little bit of decoration. A couple of reasons why I like to use toggle clasps in a bracelet is, one, if you do decide to make a change, toggle clasps can be very forgiving when it comes to the design of a bracelet. Like, this looks really nice. So I've lengthened it up a little bit to make it a little looser than the actual cuff bracelet that I originally made. The other one fits more like a cuff bracelet, but this one here, I'm probably going to be wearing it a lot, so I decided to make it a little bit looser so it can have some movement. And that looks pretty. I mean, that looks nice. Very simple to do. And the second reason I like a toggle clasp on a bracelet is because it's so easy to put on. If you have like really long nails, this is the way to go. I love these things for bracelets and for my necklaces as well. It's easy to get on, easy to take off. And once it's on, it pretty much stays on. Like this won't fall off. This won't come loose and fall off. Toggle clasps are my fave. This is bracelet number 2. What you're gonna need for that, your 11 Miyuki seed beads, your 3 to 4 millimeter spacer beads, a toggle clasp. I picked these ones here. These ones I actually got from Beadbox Bargains with the discount code. So yeah, I thought they were really pretty. If you're using your bicones from the collection, then please by all means use those. But these ones here are 4 millimeter crystal beads from Eureka Crystal Beads. Because I actually ran out of the bicones, so I decided to use. They're approximately the same size as the bicones in the kit, but I thought they looked really nice with the 6 millimeter goldstone beads. I actually had this set in my stash. I didn't realize it, so I don't know if I got it in a kit past or if I ordered them. I honestly don't remember, but these, I love these. So sparkly. They're good. They make a nice bracelet, especially in the sun, like I showed you in the last video. That looks really nice. They're beautiful. Your 8-pound fire line, if you're going to use 8-pound fire line, you can use 6-pound fire line if you want to. 8 is fine. And of course your beading needle. I also included a couple of findings that I got from the Beadbox Bargains at the discounted price. I found these and I thought they were really cute, and you could use these in place of the spacer beads if you wanted to. So I'm going to show you what that's going to look like in this video before I add the spacer beads. I might even add one of these, I don't know, but they're cute. I think they'd make a nice, like these ones here would, well, either one of these would make a really nice addition to the bracelet. We'll go through that when we get to that point. If you choose to, you know, if you've got findings or something like this with 2 holes, at, like the holes at each end, by all means, like change it up a little bit, make it look, you know, make it completely yours. But we'll keep these in mind as we get to that point, and maybe we'll just put it on and see what it looks like before we finish. Okay, I think I've covered everything for this bracelet, so we are going to get started making this bracelet. Okay, I have threaded onto my needle about 3 to 4 feet of thread. To start, 4 of your 6 millimeter goldstone beads. Bring it right to the end. So I got it right to the end, and I'm just going to bring it around like this and do a knot. And you can make that, you can tie that up a couple of times, 2-3 times, whatever you're comfortable with. And I'm going to trim that off. And again, Bead Zapper decided to crater on me, so I don't have my Bead Zapper right now. It is on its way here, but it's going to take a little time to get here. All right, now we're ready to begin. I'm sorry, in my description of everything you need, I forgot the 8/0 seed beads. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to add an 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to put it in the next 6 millimeter bead. Do that again. And this is in the classic Pondo stitch, only you're doing it with the round 6 millimeters. You go through the next. And then one more. And my bead went through that next 8/0 seed bead, which is fine, because you you know, you want that, that'll be your next starting point. So that's your first square sequence. Right, then you start again with 4 of the 6 millimeters. And you're coming out of this side of the 8/0, so this side here. You want to go back through that on the opposite side. And I'm going to go through the first bead. Pull it a little tight and add your next 8/0. And then just keep adding your 8/0s between your 6 millimeters. Same as you did in the last bracelet, only you're using your 6 millimeter beads. And you want to keep going around that square, second square, to get to the next 8/0 seed bead, so you can add the next square. So you have to make it all the way around to this bead here, and then just keep going. So keep going like that. Add on the amount of beads that you need for your particular bracelet, for your size, and when you get to the end of that, I'll meet you back here and I'll have mine done as well. Okay, now I have 44 beads on there because for my size of wrist, that's what I needed. So now we're gonna work on the middle. All right, now we're gonna grab one Miyuki, one 11/0 Miyuki, one 8/0 seed bead, your crystal bead, 8/0 seed bead, and the last 11/0 Miyuki. Okay, now we're going to start by going through. You're going to pull that sequence over to this first 11/0 seed bead, this one here, and you're going to go in this side and pull it through. All right, I think that blue, like these crystals here that I got from Eureka crystal beads are like, they're purple, they're blue, they're almost green, and I think they bring out that goldstone so pretty. I will leave a link to those crystals if you'd like to try those ones as well, but they are gorgeous. Okay, now that we are done that first sequence, you add another 11/0 Miyuki, 8/0 seed bead, the crystal, 8/0 seed bead, and 11/0 Miyuki. And you go to the next 8/0 seed bead in the middle, and you go through the opposite direction, so this side. And you pull it and make sure that it sits on top. Okay, now it's going to look a little crooked at first. Don't worry about that. Keep going. 11/0, 8/0, crystal, 8/0, and 11/0. That same sequence. And then just keep going down, always going in the opposite direction that you came out of the last 8/0 seed bead. So I came this way with this sequence. I'm going to go this way with the next one. And just pull everything up before you tighten it. Okay? (11/0), 8/0, crystal, 8/0, and 11/0. So I'm coming out of this side of that 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to go in this side. Okay. Now just keep going down the length of your bracelet like that, you know, doing the weave this way. Okay, when you get to the end, I will meet you back here. Okay, now I've made it to the one end. Now I want to make my way back. And what you're going to notice is, you see how this sequence is kind of leaning towards that way? You want to go back through there. So you miss the first 8-0 and you go back through that sequence of beads. If I can get it to do that there, through that sequence of beads, okay? So you go back through that same sequence of beads, pull it nice and tight. Okay, so I pulled it nice and tight. And then you go to the opposite of the one you did under, like the one you did first. So this one was leaning towards this way. That means that you came through this way with that thread. You go through this way with the thread now. Okay, now, and then you go through the next sequence. So that is the 11-0 Miyuki, 8-0 seed bead, crystal, 8-0 seed bead, and 11-0 Miyuki. You take your needle and you poke it through that sequence only. Okay. Now this one you can see is headed in this direction. You see it kind of laying towards that way. So that means your thread, you came through this way. So you want to go through this way. So opposite to the way you came the last time. And as you can see, that straightens that up a little bit. Okay? Now go through that. Go through the next sequence of 5. Pull it nice and tight. And as you can see, and you can even look, if you look really close, you can see that your thread is coming out that side. Okay, you want to go through the opposite side. And that just straightens up that beautiful sequence on top a little bit. And at this point, I am going to start running out of my I'm starting to run out of my thread. If you can't make it through all the beads, don't worry about it. Just pull what you can through and then just go back and go through the last ones. So that's my Miyuki. Okay. And that just straightens up the bracelet compared to, like you can see here, it's a little bit crooked, right? It goes this zigzag. This here is straightened up a bit. And that's from going through the opposite direction of those 8-0s. Okay, I've come back all the way, going in the opposite direction, and this is how the bracelet is sitting now. So pretty much nice and straight. I did have to tie off and add my next 3 to 4 feet piece. I think this is only a 3 feet piece actually, but that should be all right. Okay, now we're gonna start doing our border. So we're gonna go through this 8-0 seed bead. And we're gonna go through the first 6mm. I can get through there, and that 8-0 seed bead there. So the first one on the lineup of 8-0s. And this is where you should be sitting and ready for our border. Okay, we're going to use the 11-0 Miyuki, the 8-0 seed bead, the spacer bead, the 8-0 seed bead, and then the Miyuki. And if you check, that should fit inside there perfectly. Okay, so we're just going to go and bypass these 2 beads. We're just going to go straight into the next 8-0 seed bead. like that. Okay, so that's the 11-0, the 8-0 seed bead, the spacer bead, 8-0, and the 11-0 Miyuki. And we're going to do the same thing. Okay. So just keep adding that sequence of beads and adding them in between each of the 8-0s. And that will complete your border. All right, so do that until you get all the way to the end here. Okay, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so my first border is done on the one side. I'm at the other end. Now I've gone through the 6mm and made my way to this 8-0 seed bead. This is the one you want to be sitting at. And at this point is where we can decide what we are going to do with this piece here. So as you can see in this one, I added my own spacer bead, my own fancy spacer bead. I added 3 of their spacer beads that they had in the collection, and then my own toggle clasp. So this toggle clasp is about the same size as this one here. Okay, it's pretty close. I thought it was actually kind of pretty, this one. So like I said in my in the beginning of this video, I have some interesting looking 2-hole charms. So I mean, you could use something like that with that if you wanted, right? You could use even something like this if you wanted. Like that would also look pretty too. Honestly, you know, like if you have lots of findings, especially the 2-hole finding, these ones are really cute. I think I'm going to make a few bracelets with these, even some necklaces to go with. You could do just about anything with the edge of this bracelet. You can even put crystals on there if that's what you wanted to do. I'm going to stick with what we had done, like what I did with the original bracelet. So I put on my own fancy spacer bead, 3 of the spacer beads that were given in the collection, and my toggle clasp. So you just add those like that. Then we just go back down through the 3 spacer beads and the fancy spacer bead. I came through this side to add the sequence. I'm going to go through the opposite side of that 8-0 seed bead. And then I'm just going to reinforce. So that means going back and forth a couple of times. 3 times I find is pretty good. Okay, and then I'm going to go through. I'm going to go through it one more time. And back down again. And there we are with the first ending added. Now I'm going to continue with my edging, my border on the other side. So go through that 6mm and the 8-0 seed bead. All right. And continue to add the border till you get to this point here, and I will meet you back here and we will add the other side. I am at the other side of my bracelet, so I'm going to go through that 6mm. If I can get it to go in, there we go. Okay, 6mm bead to my 8-0 seed bead, and we are ready to add the other side. My beautiful fancy spacer bead, 3 of the spacer beads, and the other part of the toggle clasp. And what I'm going to do before I actually I'm just going to go through these first 3 spacer beads. I just want to double check with my measurements that I'm right for my own wrist. I'm just going to double check and make sure that this is going to fit me, because if it doesn't, I'm going to have to add one more spacer bead. When you get to the last final point, when you do your last side, just double check and make sure it's the measurement that you want, because if it isn't and it doesn't fit, you have to do some rearranging. And as you can see, it's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit too short. So I'm going to have to add a couple extra. Okay, so when I got to this end, I realized I made a little bit of a mistake here, because this part of the toggle clasp is a lot different than this one. I thought I had it measured out right, but I forgot that this toggle clasp is just a flat piece with a loop here. If I can get it to turn so you can see what I'm talking about. This one here is the flat part with just a loop. This one is the flat part, but it has some decoration here, and the loop is quite a bit longer. So I made a bit of a mistake. Just keep an eye on that. See, I'm going by this bracelet because this bracelet actually fits me. But if you're going to be making this bracelet, I know you're going to be using a ruler. It's always good, like I said before, to double check your work. Make sure it's exactly where you want it to be in the way of measurement for your particular wrist. So this one is actually a little bit of a mistake, because this toggle clasp doesn't match that one. It's actually shorter. So I had to add an extra spacer bead and an extra fancy spacer bead, which is okay. I mean, you know, usually this part of the bracelet sits on the bottom of your wrist, so it's not a huge issue. It's still going to look very pretty. But if you want both sides to be exactly the same, just keep an eye on your measurements, make sure they're right, and just double check, because this is a mistake. This is a mistake on my part, because they are the same size. The other one is the same size, but this one is missing this fancy stuff here and then the elongated loop. All right, then I'm going to go down through all those beads. I'm going to go through this side. Okay, and then I'm just going to go through that sequence of beads probably 3 times, just to reinforce this end piece. One more time, going up through those beads to reinforce. So that'll be the 3rd time. Make sure you go through every bead. I'm going to go through the opposite side. And I'm just going to go down a couple of beads, and then I'm going to tie off. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I love these bracelets. They're so pretty, easy to make, fun to make, and I don't know, I was thinking that maybe I should change the name of my channel to The Bracelet Queen, because honestly, I have a ton of bracelets, and if I could wear them all at once, I definitely would. Yeah. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and go over to my website, which I will leave here for you. Sign up for my newsletter that enters you to win the monthly draw that I have. Every month I have a free draw for all you beautiful subscribers. So you guys have a great day, and I would love to see you back here for my next video. Have a good one, guys. Bye.